What makes a competitive shooter good? I've thought about this a lot and I felt like breaking it down. A game's user interface should be easy to navigate instantly. It shouldn't take 10 minutes for someone to load into their first game. People should not have to rummage around the garbage to find the treasure. The user interface makes the biggest first impression. If a game's UI is unintelligible, it will instantly lose game customers. People don't like wasting their time. This goes for all games, but competitive games more than others. When there's people making a living from playing a game competitively, there should be no unnecessary shit in the UI. It's a waste of time. When you pull up to your 9-to-5 office job and walk through the doors, do you traverse a maze? Do you have to crawl through the vents to get to your office? Hell no. The same thing should go for games. A good UI sets the tone for quality throughout the entire game. Competitive shooters need roles. Nearly every competitive shooter has designated roles in some way or another, mostly in the form of playable characters that have unique sets of abilities. Designated roles stop the game from feeling like a jumbled mess. They force teams to think more rather than shoot more. This is good because it adds depth. With no thinking, the game becomes Call of Duty. Roles create a cause and effect situation. You have to choose a role. One role will allow you to say, flank the enemy, while another role allows you to force the enemy into choke points. The enemy may counter the flanking role with traps, or have someone simply watch flank. This causes you, currently ineffective to the team, to have to choose a better role. To narrow down all available roles into which one will be most effective causes critical thinking. That critical thinking stimulates the player's mind and makes the game feel like you're doing more than just playing a mindless arcade shooter. The team dynamic goes somewhat hand in hand with roles. The roles create a dependence. One player is physically unable to fit every role on the team. This forces other players to step up and fill much needed roles. This dynamic encourages players to be selfless. If an important role is left unfilled, it is to the detriment of the team and will allow the team's enemies to exploit that unfilled role, most likely causing the game to end in a loss. These harsh realities encourage teams to take time and create a fleshed out plan that either makes it hard for their weaknesses to be exploited or makes it easy to exploit their enemies' weaknesses. This causes critical thinking and a sense of fulfillment greater than just knowing you can shoot pretty well. Options are good. Options allow players to flex their mind muscles. The more options a game gives its players, the longer the game will have a strong replayability factor. Verticality and open-ended design with lots of small lanes connecting to one another instead of a few large simple lanes gives a sense of power and option to the player. If you're watching this, you probably heard multitudes of people rag on the Call of Duty franchise's poor map design. Most maps commonly consist of 3 lanes, some hardcover, some windows, and maybe one elevated sniper spot per spawn side. Those maps get very monotonous. Let's look at one of the best maps in Rainbow Six Siege right now, Clubhouse, and use it as an example for gold tier map design. Each of these pictures indicates an area that is fair game to be used. Overall, there's 4 floors including the roof. Every inch of space within each of these floors can be used. There's no barriers and no large lanes running down the center of the map. The difference between this and a COD map is night and day. Now let's look at one of the undisputed best maps in Call of Duty history, Nuketown. It took me basically 2 minutes to break this down in Paint 3D, which is a default photo editing software that comes pre-installed with Windows. The blue line marks the lanes. The blue lines, I should say, mark the lanes, while the shaded in red marks the verticality. The map is 4 lanes at a maximum and 2 lanes if you don't include the paths through the building. But I'll give Nuketown the benefit of the doubt and I'll say that there's 4 lanes. The verticality is at a minimum. There are two spots directly across from each other. They make them across from each other because it's easy to make a symmetrical map. The verticality itself is only used for 1v1 sniper battles due to the obvious symmetricality. When you go up there and you go to the window, you have a few things you can do. You can shoot down or you can shoot across to the other window. But due to the symmetricality and the way that Activision or whoever the hell developed this shit made the map, the window facing the other window and the maps being almost exactly symmetrical creates a narrative in the player's mind that says, oh, I'm here, directly across from me is something that looks exactly like me. That's my target. That's what I should go after. This symmetricality, this basicness, limits the player. It's basically brainwashing you into doing one thing while you may want to do another. I may be thinking too deep, and COD players may not give a shit because they just want to shoot. But hey, to each their own. I hardly count the verticality on Nuketown at all for the reason I just gave. This map is extremely basic. Even like a baby could draw it up. It's just a few like squares that are symmetrical. The only reason it looks good at all is just because of the assets thrown around. It's just small details that make it look good, not actual map design. If we look back at Clubhouse, while Clubhouse may not be as large as some COD maps on a two-dimensional scale, it easily makes up for that by being 2 to 3 times larger than any COD map in history on a 3-dimensional scale, which is good. That sets it apart. The player and map, in the best case scenario, need to have a direct relationship. There needs to be cause and effect. Rainbow Six Siege is easily the best game in this regard. Nearly every map in Rainbow Six Siege allows for total destruction. If you shoot a wall, there will be bullet holes. If you punch a wall, there will be a realistically sized hole. On top of that, there's an immense amount of utility in play for both defenders and attackers that is used solely for the purpose of remodeling the map to fit your favor. Other competitive shooters like CSGO, Valorant, Overwatch, they all have much less direct relationship between its players and its map. There's no utility to use for manipulation of the map, and I think that's a crying shame. Now, I don't think those games are bad by any means. I have a ton of fun on all of them. I just think that the lack of destruction mechanics are very limiting. When you come from a game like Rainbow Six Siege where you make the map your bitch and can do whatever you need to do to the map to get a good end result, it feels disheartening transitioning to a game like Overwatch where the map makes you its bitch and there's seemingly no cooperation between you two. Instead of working with the map, you're spending all your time working against the map. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but game-breaking bugs, glitches, and terrible netcode are inexcusable. When there is money and pride on the line, there should never be a case of getting screwed over by the game. If you haven't noticed, the best solution for all questions, in my opinion, which is what this video is, my opinion, is to give the player full control. People don't like being limited, and there should never be an instance occurring after full release, which, if you care at all, I can make a video on. I have very strong opinions on early access games. Leave it in the comments along with other video ideas. There should never be an instance occurring after full release where a win or loss is determined by chance due to bugs, glitches, or bad netcode. I have to rag on Rainbow Six Siege for this, considering I gave it an ode in the relationships between the map and the player section. Rainbow Six Siege is terrible in this regard. It seems that after every new patch, there's a brand new game-breaking bug. The Clash glitch comes back every season slightly repackaged. It's absurd. Ubisoft needs to get their shit together. But Ubisoft has come a long way. Their netcode was terrible. Headshots used to be broken, but they've improved on it. and it's pretty easy to improve. I don't know anything about coding, so yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that, but considering all the assets these big developers, AAA titles have at their disposal, it should be very easy for them to fix netcode, bugs, glitches, and all that. All it comes down to is quality control, and if there is no quality control, that's just inexcusable. Lastly, we have to hit on balancing quick because it's very important. Balancing in any video game with lots of utility and any amount of depth in its mechanics will be difficult. I plan to hit on this in another video. There are simply so many factors to account for that it's impossible to create a hypothetical situation for this video. Put video ideas in the comments below, please.